You know the feeling. On Sunday night, you make a promise. You will start the workout. You will open the hard document. You will save the money this time. And on Sunday, it feels real. Then Tuesday arrives. It is 8 in the evening. The plan is right there. And instead, there is pizza on the table, your phone in your hand, and the plan quietly slides to next week. This video is about that gap. Why the promise felt so solid on Sunday and so weak on Tuesday, and why this happens to almost everyone, even people who are not lazy. So let's start with the strange math inside your head. In 2003, a psychologist named Gregory Madden at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire gave 20 people a simple choice: money now or more money later. He tried delays from 6 hours to a full year, and something clear showed up. The value of a reward does not fade in a straight line as it moves into the future. It drops in a steep curve, fastest right near the present. The best-fitting math was hyperbolic, not exponential. For real rewards, that curve fit at r² 0.85 against 0.73 for the straight-line version. Which means the future is not discounted evenly, so a reward far away looks small and pale. But that same reward, right in front of you, suddenly looks huge. That is why Sunday's plan and Tuesday's pizza feel so different. Tuesday's pizza is now. Sunday's plan was always later. And this is not just a quirk of one study. In 1994, a researcher named Leonard Green at Washington University tested 36 people across a huge range of ages: 6th graders, college students, and older adults. His delays stretched from 1 week to 25 years. Everyone discounted the future, but the size changed with age. For children, the discount rate number was 0.618. For young adults, 0.075. For older adults, it fell all the way to 0.002. So this is not simply about being young or being weak. Every human brain shrinks the future, but experience and age can bend that curve. It stays discounted. It just does not have to stay so steep, which raises a bigger question. Why would a brain be built to treat the future this way at all? So to answer that, we have to look inside the machine. In 2004, a scientist named Samuel McClure, then at Princeton, put 14 people inside a brain scanner and watched them choose between money today and more money weeks later, and the brain split in two. When the choice included money right now, the reward circuits lit up, deep, old, feeling parts of the brain, like the ventral striatum. But when people weighed the later reward, different regions carried the load, the cool planning areas, up in the front and sides of the brain. Which means the two options are not even handled by the same system. The reward now speaks to the ancient, emotional core. The reward later has to be built, slowly, by the calculating part. So on Sunday, you are using your planner. When Tuesday comes, the hot reward system wakes up, sees something close and real, and shouts louder than any plan. But money is one thing, effort is another. The real promises you break are not about cash. They are about doing the hard, boring, tiring thing. So in 2015, an economist named Ned Augenblick at UC Berkeley tested exactly that. He had people commit to real work tasks spread over 7 weeks. And he found something sharp. People were far more inconsistent about effort than about money. When work moved from later to right now, they backed out. On average, they shifted about 9% less work into the present than they had planned. So the Sunday you is honest. It really does intend to do the work. But the Sunday you is not the one who has to lift the weight. The Tuesday you is. And when the effort stops being an idea and becomes a real, sweating, immediate thing, the choice quietly changes. This is not lying. It is two versions of you making different calls. But here is where most videos would say, the fix is willpower, just be stronger. But the science does not support that story. In 2016, a researcher named Martin Hager led a huge test across 23 separate labs with over 2,000 people. They were checking the famous idea that willpower is like a fuel tank that drains as you use it. And the combined result was almost nothing. An effect of 0.04 with a range that crossed zero. Which means willpower is not a simple tank you run empty. That popular picture does not hold up. So if the answer is not just gritting your teeth harder, we have to look at what actually changes whether people can wait. And a lot of it is not about strength at all. It is about what is in front of you. Because attention does something powerful. In 1970, the psychologist Walter Mischel ran his famous test with young children and a treat. Wait, and you get 2. Grab now, and you only get 1. But he changed one thing. Sometimes the treats sat in plain view. Sometimes they were hidden, and the difference was enormous. When both rewards were visible, children lasted about 1 minute. When the rewards were hidden from sight, 6 out of 8 children waited the full 15 minutes. So the treat on the table is more dangerous than the treat in your mind. The pizza wins, partly because it is right there, glowing, in view. Waiting is not just an inner strength contest. It is often a fight about where your attention points. Hide the thing, and the future gets easier to choose. Because taking the reward now can actually be the smart move. In 2013, a researcher named Celeste Kidd at the University of Rochester ran the same weighting test, but first, she showed each child whether adults kept their promises. For some, the adult was reliable. For others, the adult broke their word. And the children who had learned adults were reliable waited about 12 minutes. The ones who had learned adults were unreliable waited only about 3. Which means patience depends on trust. If the future looks shaky, grabbing the sure thing now is not weakness. It is a reasonable bet. A promise of more later is only worth waiting for if later actually shows up. So a brain that has learned the world is unpredictable will, sensibly, take what it can hold today. And this connects to something our ancestors lived with every day. For most of human history, future rewards were far less certain than food already in your hand. The berries you did not eat could be gone tomorrow. A bias toward the sure, immediate reward was not a flaw in that world. It was often the safe bet. But we should be careful not to turn this into destiny. In 2018, a researcher named Tyler Watts at NYU retested the marshmallow idea with over 900 children, a far bigger and more mixed group. And the link between waiting as a small child and doing well later mostly faded once you accounted for family background and early skills. So waiting is not a magic prophecy stamped on you at age 4. It is tangled up with your situation. And situation matters more than we like to admit. In 2013, a researcher named Anandi Mani studied how money pressure affects thinking. She tested shoppers and Indian farmers. And when people were worried about serious money problems, their performance on thinking tasks dropped hard. The size of that drop was like losing about 13 IQ points. Not because they were less capable, because worry was eating their bandwidth. Which means when rent, debt, or an empty fridge is pressing, planning for next year gets harder, and grabbing relief now feels even stronger. Scarcity makes the future feel like a luxury you cannot afford. So let's put the whole picture together. Your brain shrinks the future in a steep curve. It hands the reward now choice to an old, loud, emotional system, and the reward later choice to a slow planner. It leans towards sure things when trust is low, and struggles even more when life is hard. None of that is laziness. Every piece made sense in a world where tomorrow was never guaranteed. And one thread may tie it together. To your brain, the future self can feel less like you and more like a stranger. But if the problem is a stranger, the fix is introduction. In 2011, a researcher named Hal Hirschfield showed young adults a digitally aged image of their own face, an older version looking back. And then he asked them to split money between now and retirement. The people who met their future face put more away, about 6% toward the future, against about 4% for the group who did not see the image. Which means the solution is not shame. It is not white-knuckle willpower. It is making tomorrow feel real and close instead of faint and far. When the future self stops being a ghost and becomes a person, we treat that person better. So you do not have to win a fight against your own nature. You just have to shrink the distance. Hide the pizza. Set the plan up so the hard part is already handled. Picture the real face of the person who has to live with today's choice. Because that person is not a stranger. That person is you, standing just a little further down the road, hoping that this time, on Tuesday, you showed up.